My name is Bill Van Buren. I'm the regional sales manager for the South Central region. Been in the finishing industry for almost 44 years now. And so we'd like to very much welcome you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. So let's get into our presentation. This is the Col-Met facility in Rockwall, Texas. It's about 100,000 square feet under roof. And we manufacture all of our sheet metal here, ovens, washers, and of course our RP filter line. We have three main business segments that we really focus on at Col-Met. The main one of our main ones is our core and catalog equipment business. That's our standard products that you'll see in our catalog that we have on the internet, on our website, and also in hard print if you need it. It's all of our standard products from open face booths, our enclosed booths, our automotive, easy line automotive booths, our large truck and equipment booths, and right across the line, whatever, if it's a standard product, it'll be in there. Our engineered products is where we step up our game. At this time, we bring in our engineering group when we have a special booth like 100 foot long or 35 feet wide or 30 foot wide and 20 feet tall, and it's a big booth and it needs AMUs and heat and cure cycle, HVAC, whatever it needs. It goes to our engineering group, and this includes our process ovens and anything that has to do with the process, 3-stage washers, 5-stage washers, etc. That's our engineered product group does all of this type of products. RP filtration is run by Trey Peavy, our filter products manager, and we manufacture all of our filters that we sell for exhaust filtration in-house at Col-Met in Rockwall, Texas. And I believe we can say that we are the only booth company that offers its own filter line that is actually manufactured by, the company, which is Col-Met. So I think that's kind of unique to us. That's why we can offer you the 5-year warranty, because we know the standard of filtration we're offering. So let's go over a presentation overview. We're going to talk today about the function of a powder booth, the types of Col-Met powder booths, how to size a powder booth properly. Other considerations we're going to be looking at is the environmental rooms. We'll touch on those. We'll touch on air movement. We'll touch on compressed air quality. We're going to talk about grounding. And we're going to talk a little bit about filter replacement and return on investment. So the functions of a powder booth are simple. The design of a powder booth must be for all the codes in the world, which is contain oversprayed powder, provide for a safe operating environment, collect oversprayed powder for either reuse or disposal, and enhance application efficiency. So powder booth operation, we're talking about powder containment is accomplished by drawing air produced by a fan with sufficient velocity through all of the booth enclosure openings. And you look to your right, you see all those green arrows. We got to draw, and the one below, we got to draw all that air, outside air. We have to bring it into every single opening. The overspray powder and air mixture in the booth enclosure is drawn into the collection device where either filters or cyclone separates the powder from the contaminated air. Cleaned air is then directed through a final filter to remove any particulate before returning the air to the plant. The overspray powder collected in the recovery unit is reclaimed and reprocessed into the system, or it can be thrown away. The process may be as simple as collecting and discarding the recovered powder, referred to as spray to waste, or mixing the recovered powder with the virgin powder and supplied back to the system to feed the powder application equipment, referred to as reclaim. And you'll see a little picture on the right of a cartridge booth with a bulk feed system, a hopper with a rotary sieve, etc. Typically, reclaimed powder is blended with virgin powder before being applied back to product. That's normally, you should always check with your manufacturer, but a good starting point if the manufacturer didn't give you any guidelines is 50% virgin powder, 50% reclaimed powder. So this is the powder coating system. You got recycle on the left and non-recycle on the right. So what we're trying to do is take part of that powder, all that powder that we can, and reuse it. And then the other side, it's not for reuse. We're going to scrap it. Two types of recovery systems that we're going to be talking about. Mainly, we're going to be talking about the cartridge, but you need to know about the cyclone side of it. Cartridges is cartridge filter bottles either attached to the side of the booth or the bottom of the booth. And a cyclone separator is used in front of a cartridge collector to separate powder. It's a powder separator. We'll talk a little bit more about that later down in the slides. So this is a typical cartridge booth. And what you're looking at is your automatic guns are here, and you could have manual operators also. And you see air coming into all these openings. This is outside containment air being pulled in to these openings here. And of course, they'll be coming into the product opening too. So what you're going to do is you got your part being powder coated is hanging right here. And the gun's doing this. So as you start painting, you'll see the powder that does not go onto the part is entrapped in the airstream of the containment air and being pulled into the cartridge, and the cartridges are right here, and that cartridge is loading up with powder. Now we have a reverse pulse blowdown system that when it activates, you get that sound of the noise, and then you see the powder falls off, goes down into the fluid bed here for recycling. Now, I wish I could say the filter gets that clean every time, but it doesn't, but it does clean it and keep the airflow going steady. Next thing you're going to see happen is this blue block right here is a transfer pump. It can either be a dense phase pump or a standard transfer pump. And as you see on the red dotted line, the powder is sent over into the accumulator here and drops down to the rotary sieve. And then at the same time, you got your bulk feed system over here. It will be activated and bringing in virgin powder, which will go in the accumulator. And it all kind of starts mixing together here. And then by the time I go through the rotary sieve and gets the cigarette butts and lint and everything else out of the reclaim, it drops down into here as clean powder and ready for reuse and being transferred back to the guns for respraying. So a cyclone separator is basically, it's a separator. It's used by all the powder companies who manufacture powder. And basically, they use it for air classification. And it's based on, if you want a 5 micron particle size as an average on your bell curve of your powder, they know how much air to move through the cyclone to get the bulk of that powder to be at that top of that bell curve, with a little bit on the bigger side, a little bit on the finer side to make it work well. So how a cyclone works is the air coming in is that's containing the powder starts coming down, and as you see, it starts slowing down, and the heavy powder will fall out and drop into this area here, which can be either have a transfer pump at the bottom, or you have a sieve at the bottom, then a transfer pump. And then the lighter or the fines of the powder, which are 0.5 micron and below, will be pulled up, as you see with the blue arrows, and it'll go out and go over to a collector that's a scrap powder collector. And all the powder going over to that will be dropped into a 55-gallon drum or 50-gallon drum and disposed of properly. So we're going to talk about types of powder booths now, and mainly what Col-Met does. There's a lot of powder booth manufacturers out there, but we're talking about our product line today. So we're going to start with the batch powder booths, the Col-Met PB series, and then we're going to go to the Col-Met RPB series, which is cartridge filtration, and then we're going to look at the pass-through powder booths, the Col-Met EPB series cartridge filtration booth. So we're going to talk about the PB first, and it's a batch style entry level booth. It's for low volume applications, and it's a great starter booth. It is a booth that if a customer is getting into powder for the first time and they're not going to be spraying more than 3, 4, 6, 8 hours a day maximum with one gun, this is the booth that they can start with. Everything that you use in this is spray to waste. It has very basic controls, but you can option the VFD. And again, everything is sprayed away. It has multi-stage filtration. Stage 1 will be a blanket filter. Stage 2 will be pocket filters. In our booth, stage 3 is HEPA filters. And like, again, entry level booths, spray to waste. Do not put this booth in a high volume or mid volume shop, because you're going to be spending a lot of money replacing filtration in stage 1 and stage 2 and eventually on stage 3. The RPB series is the cartridge system. As you can see up here in the top right corner, these are cartridges. And below it, you can have drawers, optional drawers, or an optional fluid bed. It's a low to medium volume production booth. You can spray the waste in it or reclaim, one color, and powder collected below the cartridge filter in a pan or a fluid bed. Again, multi-stage filtration. First stage is the cartridge, and the second stage is the final filter. Again, we're showing you the reverse pulse of how we clean them. But one of the most important and unique things about Col-Met is, as a standard, we include this little box right here called the VFD, Variable Frequency Drive. We put that in all of our powder booths, and all of our powder booths comes with this control panel with a MagnaHealy gauge and the buttons and the main switch turn off right there. That comes standard with every RPC collector or every RPB booth. The importance of this BFD we're going to talk about more later, but one of the main things that the BFD does is gives you the ability to slow down the airflow in your booth. So we designed the booth to come in at 100 to 120 feet per minute of air velocity coming into the booth opening. And in order to enhance the application equipment, no matter whose it is, you want to slow that air down. You want to slow it down enough to make sure you're containing the powder in the booth, but you're going to enhance the application equipment by enhancing that first pass transfer efficiency. So by code, you can slow this booth down to 65 feet a minute. And if you can keep that powder contained at 65 feet a minute, that's where you want to operate at, because that lets the guns do the best job they can do. Also, there's a pressure switch on for the final filters, and you'll see that's right there. So basically, when that red light turns on, it's going to give you a little bit of time. But what this means is you've got either a tear or very, very old cartridges that need to be replaced, and one of them has been damaged, or you got bypass at the top of that seal up here, and you have got filters in, you got powder in your final filter area and in your fan. And once that final filter starts loading up and the static pressure starts rising, that light comes on, and then shortly after that, it's going to shut the booth off and make you go in there and clean it up and change out filters. This is one of our, my opinion, is one of our best kept secrets. We call it the lab powder booth, but it's really more than a lab powder booth. One of the unique qualities of it, it's got also a VFD drive. You also notice down here, it's on casters. It allows you to move it around room, and then you got these brakes you can put down. It makes it stop. You can, it's a 220 volt or 230 volt. You can put a plug in the wall, roll it over into place, plug it in, turn it on, run small parts. If you note, the openings up here are 5 foot wide by 5 foot high by 3 foot deep. Now you can run some pretty good test parts in here, or you can run some, you know, like special colors. The customer wants a onesie, a twosie, or 5 or 10 or 15 even. You don't want to shut down your main booth and to do one, you know, 5 or 10, 15, 20 parts. You bring them over here. If they fit, you put them in there and you powder coat them. It's got a fluid bed in the bottom of it. You can just let it all mix in there and just put a transfer pump on and pump it out to a barrel. Get rid of your scrap powder. But this is a really good tool that you really need to keep in your arsenal when you're talking to customers about ones to twosies, or you can do Q panels in it. It can be in a powder lab where they need to run quality control. It's just got multitude of uses. So keep that in your arsenal. Great booth, great piece of equipment. This is our workhorse. This is the EPB pass-through powder booth, and you note there's a conveyor opening, so the conveyor will be outside of this opening. The hooks will be dropping down through, and we have, it's for high production rates. We have 3 standard sizes in the book. We use now all E-light, LED lighting in them. It can be a spray to waste or a reclaimed booth, and you got multiple booths or collectors can be used to meet color changing. So basically, you'll see on the next slide, you got a roll-in, roll-out collector right here. So basically, this is your air handler over here. and this is your roll in, roll out collector. So if you got one color and it's black or red or blue, that's all you need was one collector. But if you got one collector to 70 or 80% of your powder, you want one collector for that so you can reclaim it. And then your other 30 to 20% is going to be small runs of colors. You just have one spray to waste collector that you can roll out. In this particular picture here, the booth is shown to be a stainless steel. We offer this booth in stainless steel, galvanized, or powder coated white. If you're going to be doing color changes, always option the stainless steel. Stainless steel cleans easy. It's a lot easier to clean than galvanized. Galvanized has a lot of little areas that catches powder. This will be much easier to clean when you're squeegeeing it down and wiping it down. So always recommend the stainless steel for your color changes. It's got either the auto or manual filter pulse down, just like the RPB. Basically, manual means that it's on timer board, and it's going to pulse every so many minutes, whatever the timer board has said. If you got it in auto, basically what auto means is it's going to take this magnet Healy gauge you see here, and it's not going to pulse until it needs to pulse. So it's going to start, the magnet Healy gauge, the static pressure is going to start rising. It's going to get about 2.5 inches of water column, and then it's going to start pulsing down in sequence on these cartridges until it drops it back to about 1.5 inches. It'll pulse until then it'll quit pulsing. Again, VFDs. VFDs are very important, and we'll have another reason to talk about VFDs a little bit later on. Again, the same thing, press your switch for the final filters. So we're talking about the EPB series still. So you can have a single booth that's always online. It can be a spray to erase or a reclaim. You can do color change, but you remember, system is down when you're color changing and you only got a single booth online. Depending on the size of this booth, it can take anywhere from 30, 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes to do a color change. So that's downtime on your line. So it can still be done, and a lot of plants still do it. And if you put enough people at it, you can get that color change down to 15 to 20 minutes, and once they know what they're doing. But you can't count on that. Count on the worst case scenario, about 30 to 45 minutes when you color change. So what we offer to offset that is a dual or multi-booth setup where you got a booth moved on and offline. So you got one booth offline, one booth online running. The booth is offline. We'll have people cleaning it, getting it ready for its next color. Now, your production is not shut down. You are still running production full bore. But remember, even doing it this way, you got to have personnel over there getting the booth cleaned down for this next color. But color change time is minimal, because once you get this second booth ready to roll online, there's a gap in the line. You roll it online, and the one booth that was online rolls offline, and it's ready to start working on it, get it ready for its next color. So you're talking about a 5-minute or less color change, actual color change from going from one color to the other. But you still got that cleanup time. We won't call that color change time. We'll call that cleanup time. So also, we are now manufacturing a wedge style collector for our larger CFM booths. We have sold a couple of them already. They're out in the field. And the main difference is you'll see over here in this lower right-hand picture, the air handler is up on top, and your final filter is up on top, and all your blow down modules are right here. And then your wedge style collector, what you see right here, this will roll out and out of your way. And then you bring your next collector in, and the way it straps in, it brings it in and then cinches it up tight. It gives you a really good seal right here. And we found out on our bigger collectors, this is a better way to go at it. So we're moving forward on that. So if we get into some big systems, we might be recommending to you the wedge collector. This is a typical layout of a line. You'll see here your load area. It comes through the load, goes through a 3-stage washer in this case, through a 6-minute dry-off oven. Then you got a nice cool-down area. It cools down. Part comes out of here, goes into the powder coating. It's either powder coated manually, automatic, or automatic and manual. Goes into in this case, a 3-pass cure oven. Comes out of the cure oven, short cool-down time, and then to an unload. So we're going to talk about a little bit on the booth summary here. The three-stage filtration, and this is the PV. Remember, this is a low production booth, no reclaim, higher maintenance costs because you got to replace filters a lot more often. And remember, keep this for entry-level users or very low volume users. It's a manual application only. There's no VFD. You can option a VFD, and even if the customer's got a little extra money, a couple of $1,000s, I always recommend, even in these booths, that you put the VFD in there. And when I do a quote, I try to option that VFD so they have the choice of taking it or not. Because even in the PB, if you could slow that booth airflow going down and keep your containment and enhance your application equipment, then you're not blinding your filters out as fast. Reclaim RPB, just again, medium production booth. Reclaim capabilities of one color. Reduce maintenance costs because you got a cartridge and final filters. They last a lot longer. Reduce maintenance costs because, again, the filters last longer. As long as you do your maintenance and take care of these booths, these cartridge filters will last for quite a long time. Entry-level users or experienced users. It's a good manual application booth, but we can also put automatics in it if we need to. It's got VFD included for precise airflow control. A pass-through powder booth is the EPB style. Is a high production powder booth. You got reclaim and multiple color change capable. Reduce maintenance cost again because and high production. Experienced users are with multiple colors. Automatic and or manual application capabilities, and again, VFDs are included for precise airflow. So we're going to show you how to size a powder booth in an easy way. It's pretty much on a batch powder booth like this, what we call an industrial batch powder booth. It's sort of like an IB liquid booth. You're going to take the height times the width, and then it's going to give you, in this case, we're talking 3 by 5. Let me back up here. Always, when you size a booth, whatever your maximum size part size or going there or your rack is, try to allow that 3 to 5 feet around it for your operator so you got good, easy movement around the booth. So now we know that. We know that we've got an 8 high by 10 foot wide booth. We got 80 square foot of opening. So you can size it by these different calculations. There are 80 feet per minute base velocity. You got 6,400 CFM required for containment air. 100 feet per minute base velocity, you got 8,000 CFM of containment air. And if you want 120 feet per minute base velocity, you got 9,600 CFM. Always remember, you got the VFD to slow that down to where you want to use it at. So when you're sizing an EP style pass-through powder booth, you see all these green arrows over here. This is air coming into every opening. These are your product openings on each end, and you got that conveyor slot across the top. You got to pull air through that to contain powder, and then through each of your gun slots, and then your manual openings. So you got to figure out each one of them. Conveyor slot, 6.7 feet squared. Part opening, 36 square feet. Gun slots, 10 square feet. Operator openings, 20 square feet. So I got a total of 72.7 square feet. Same thing on this one. You got to figure out what your face velocities are going to be. 80 feet per minute, you're going to be at 5,816. 100 feet per minute, 7,270. 120 feet per minute, 8,724. 150 feet per minute, 10,905. And one of the things you might ask, why would you need 150 or 120 feet per minute? Well, what you do is, if you got a big, tall opening and a big, wide opening or a big, tall opening, you want to increase your face velocity. You know, most likely, if you got a hot part, a very warm part coming in because you want to do hot part to get a faster film build, then you want to also increase your face velocity up to a higher speed, like 150. Because if you don't, when you're spraying your powder, you get what's called the chimney effect. The powder will start coming out the conveyor slot, just look like a smokestack. Powder will be coming up pretty fast. And the hotter the part is, the worse that scenario can be. So you got to increase your containment air to make sure you maintain that powder in that booth. And again, you got the VFD to allow you to control that and contain that powder at the lowest possible velocity. Always make sure you maintain 6 inches around your part. That's the minimum that you want. Your minimum hook on our booth, we recommend 36 inches. Now, other considerations to talk about are the environmental rooms. Not all companies use environmental rooms. They're not required. Recommended, depends on the area you're going into. If you're going into high humidity areas, high heat areas, yeah, probably I'm going to recommend one. Does everybody always buy it? No, they don't. But here's the benefits. You can maintain a temperature between 60 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. You can maintain your humidity between 40 and 60% RH, and you minimize your dirt and contaminants. It benefits you. It helps you with your fluidization because your powder's staying drier and cleaner. Powder flow and material is much easier, so you use lower volumes of air to transport your powder. Also helps you in your charging. At the optimum humidity, you get the best charging in your ion cloud out of your guns. It reduces your Faraday problems, really reduces impact fusion, almost goes away, because what causes a lot of impact fusion is moisture in the powder and being pushed through an airline. Increases your first pass transfer efficiencies, what everybody's looking for when they put application equipment in, especially automatics. What's my first pass TE? Other considerations you want to take is where you put the booth in the room or the building that you're putting it in. If you put it in a small E room, then you want to make sure that you don't have strong blowing, like an open door, like a big bay door over in this side or a big bay door up here that can blow air in and come right through here like a jet stream. So you want to try to figure out the best way to orient your room and you orient your booth. If you got doors in here, make sure you close these doors. Keep them closed. E-rooms are designed to be sealed off with all doors closed. As I was discussing about keeping the room clean, what you do with these rooms, when they're air conditioned, they have a little bit over what they call positive pressure in the room, and you push it a little bit air, just a little bit out this, and it keeps any contaminants from coming into your room. Got to keep these doors closed and be cognizant of where you put your air conditioning vents. Air conditioning vents too close to any openings, operator openings, or product openings can cause what we call a Venturi effect, which will literally pull the powder right out of the booth. Just like it's the same concept we use from powder pumps. The same thing's going to happen to you. So Col-Met cartridges, our standard cartridges are 52 inches long. Their outside diameter is 12.74 inches. We have 397 square feet of media. We have a good air-to-cloth ratio of 2.5 to 1, which is 2.5 cubic feet of air moving through to 1 square foot of filter. So we're going to talk about filter seasoning. Is it required, yes or no? Well, we don't do it like we did in the old days. You don't have to stand there and throw powder at the filters or take a gun and slow it down real lot. Because of the VFD, we now can take, with the uniqueness of the VFD, we can turn down the airflow and then just let the guns run normally and let it season the filter. But the main thing that you want to remember is do not turn off your blowdown. Leave your blowdown running. To properly season your cartridges, they need to be blown down and running at this lower 65 linear feet per minute until they're seasoned properly. Big consideration that you got to take if you're selling powder systems or you're buying a powder system. I cannot stress too much two things that we're going to look at next. So very important is clean, dry air. Col-Met and all powder booth manufacturers, whether it's us or GEMA or Norton or anybody else with their application equipment, are going to tell you to dedicate an air dryer to that powder booth powder system. You want clean, dry air coming in, whether it's a refrigerated air dryer like you see here or twin tower regenerative like you see here. You want that focused on your booth, and the reason is if you got a twin screw air compressor that's 2,000 feet away and you're in Phoenix, Arizona, or you're in Dallas, Texas, or you're in Oklahoma, or no matter where you are, if it's warm outside and it's 100 degrees outside and your plant's 95 or 98 on the inside, even though you got that clean air coming out of that dryer from the air compressor, by the time it goes through that pipe and reaches to your powder booth, it's already got moisture back in it. Now, it won't be as much as it took out, but there's still going to be moisture. You want to get all the moisture out of your air. And then you want this coalescing filter package that you see right here on the right. The first stage will be oil remover. Remember, these only remove water and moisture. This removes the oil. This removes large particulate. And coming out this side, you're going to have nice, clean air. The cleaner and drier the air is, the longer your filter cartridges will last. That will extend the life of your filters more than anything else you can do. So do not skimp on the system. Make sure that you dedicate a dryer to a system. And figuring out how much air you need is real simple. We'll look at that in another time down the line. But you don't need big, giant air dryers to dedicate it to booth. But you are going to need, probably, depending on how many guns are in it, and you're probably going to need 75 to 100 CFM air dryer at your booth. Next thing is powder application equipment and powder booth love is good ground. Clean, dry air and good ground. You're going to hear me beat you up over that every day of the week. If you're looking at buying a powder system, you got to have clean, dry air, and you got to have a good ground. What we recommend is the end user buy a 5/8-inch copper rod, about 5 to 6 feet long, 8 feet long, cut a hole in the floor, drive it through. You got about 3 or 4 inches sticking out of the ground. You run your ground strap over here to your booth, and this is the kind of grounding strip I suggest you put on. And everything that's on your booth, your application equipment, your booth, your conveyor, everything's grounded through this strip right here. Now you got a good earth ground. How do you check that? As your hooks get dirty, they start insulating from ground. So you check it with a meg ohm meter, not a multimeter, a meg ohm meter. And the meg ohm meter, what to do, anything that's 1 meg ohm and below is good ground. Anything above that, start cleaning your hooks. Get them cleaned up. Have a rotation on your hooks where you pull them off the line every second or third time through the conveyor, or however many times you bring them into your batch booth, and get them cleaned off. If you have to beat them with a hammer, beat them with a hammer. Take a file off a spot in it where you got good contact. Make sure that you get that done. It's going to be critical. So now we're going to talk a little bit about return on investment on your powder booth. What you can expect. The PB style is a 3-stage, again, low volume. It's a spray to waste booth only. There's no reclaim, no color change. It's a spray to waste. Inexpensive $1 sign. We'll get to this part of it over here in a minute. And then the cartridge is a fixed module, low, medium volume. Yes, one single color you can reclaim. No color change capabilities, which is, it can be color change, but it's really hard. You don't want to try it. Spray to waste is also usable in this too, and it's a little bit more expensive, $2 signs. And our EPB passive powder booth is medium to high volume, conveyorized. Yes, a single or multiple colors. Yes, with replaceable module, $3 signs. And then you see down here your volume applied is for, kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. You got 10 pounds. Let's say your volume applied is in this little 3-stage is going to be like 10 pounds a week, and it's going to be 500 pounds a year, approximately $3.50 a pound. You got approximately 60% first pass transfer efficiency. So you're going to be throwing around 200 pounds of powder away, which has got a value of about $700 approximately. In this particular one, where you got 50 pounds a week, you got 2,500 pounds a year, $3.50 a pound again, 6% TE. You'll get throwing away about 1,000 pounds or $3,500. And as you can see, this exponentially goes up. The more powder you use, the more expensive it gets. So once you do these calculations, you can figure out if I'm throwing this much powder away, it's going to behoove me to figure out to have a reclaim system so I can reclaim that powder if I'm running mainly, especially one color, or 70% of my volume is one color. Any questions?
All right, Bill, thank you. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in as we go along. Before I read the first question, though, I want to remind everybody, don't forget to download your handout on your control panel there. If you are having problems downloading it, please let me know. Send an email to marketing@colmetsb.com, and I'll make sure you get a copy of today's presentation. The other thing I wanted to mention is about an hour to an hour and a half after this presentation, you'll receive an email from us thanking you for attending. In that, there is a certificate of attendance, so don't forget to download that for your attendance today. And then what we'll do now is we'll go to our first question. Bill, what is the recommended mix of reclaimed virgin powder?
Always contact your powder supplier and ask him that question. But if you don't get hold of him or you're not sure and you want to get rolling, always start off with a 50-50 mix, 50% virgin, 50% reclaim.
All right. Thank you. Another question here is, how can I convert a liquid booth to a powder booth?
That's really easy to do. It's really the best way to do it. I'm only going to discuss the cartridge side of it. So we're going to take a cartridge collector. So what you're going to do is remove all your ductwork from your liquid booth. You're going to remove your tube axial fan off your exhaust plenum on your booth. Then you're going to remove the exhaust plenum, and then you're going to remove your filter grids, and then you're going to slide your cartridge collector into place. And then if you didn't buy if Col-Met did not supply you with filler panels, you build your filler panels, fill in around your collector, and basically run electricity and air to it and start it up. Real simple.
Oh, great. It does. It sounds simple. The next question is can you spray both liquid and powder in the same booth?
I do not recommend it.
All righty. One last question. I don't see any other questions here. So the last one we have on our list is, can you explain the air to cloth ratio and why is it important?
The lower your air to cloth ratio is, the better the filter, the better quality filters you're going to have. And that will be, air cloth ratio is based on how many square foot of filter media you have versus how much air is coming into 1 square foot of filter media. So basically, if you got a 2.5, which is pretty much the average across the industry, but there are better filters out there that go down as much as 2.0 to 1 and 1.75 to 1. The lower that ratio is, the better the quality filter. That means it's got more media in it. It's got more, whatever the media is, it's got more of it. So more media means more square footage more square footage of media, and it's going to make it much better and much longer lasting cartridges.
All right. I think that's it. If you have any questions, please take a minute here and type them in. Other than that, it looks like, Bill, those are all the questions for today. We thank you. Thank everybody for attending today's webinar. If you haven't signed up yet, sign up for our July webinar. It'll be the middle of July, July 17th. And then the next slide here is just, if you need this, as to who to call list if you need to contact a regional sales manager from Col-Met. On the right is the map with their territories, and on the left side of the slide is their contact information. And the next slide, please. Don't forget that if you want to reference back to this webinar today, it will be posted on our Col-Met YouTube channel. And Bill, next slide, please. And we also will be posting it to the Col-Met website, just in case you want to pick up a copy of the presentation there. Again, thank you very much for joining us today, and we appreciate your attendance. Have a great weekend.